Good morning and welcome to College Coffee Talk. Pearl and Andy Lockwood. Hello, Pearl.
Hello, Andy. Hi, everybody.
About to partake in a hopefully simultaneous sip of coffee. If you are joining us today, we're going to be talking about a pressing issue that's gripping the nation. Very few people are not talking about this. And what?
Nothing.
Just because you were passed over for the nomination of Supreme Court Justice doesn't mean you should mock my opening.
Licking my wounds.
Yeah. So, no, we're not talking about the Supreme Court Justice nomination process. We are talking about should I check the financial aid yes box. On the common application, they ask you, are you applying for need-based aid? I think most schools do that, actually, not all schools. Mm-hmm. Should you check that box? And a related question, if you think you're not going to qualify, should you even submit your financial aid forms, your FAFSA and your CSS profile? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now for the simultaneous sip for College Coffee Talk. Once again,
Virtually.
You've already drank your 2 or 3 cups. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Sufficiently jittery, yes.
Well, you slept in until about 5 today.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a pretty busy weekend. We did some college drive-bys. We have a senior, our daughter Lizzie, went up to Boston. No tours, of course. I suspect a lot of you are having the same type of experience as we have. And I think my personal highlight, so we saw Brandeis, Tufts, Northeastern, BU, and Harvard.
Yes.
And my personal favorite was when we were in the car in Harvard Square, and Lizzie was screaming out the window, "Anybody looking for a wife?" I appreciated that. Or when she shushed us, she's like, "Quiet, I'm husband watching." I think that was Tufts, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She may have also screamed out safety school.
Yeah.
At Harvard.
Yes. Yeah. So we're good parents and great college advisors, as evidenced by that little personal anecdote. If you are just joining us, say hello in the chat. I see Chuck. Good morning to Chuck and to Carmen. All right. So, Pearl, I'm going to pose this question to you because we were talking about this yesterday around 6:30 a.m. And I said, that'd be good to talk about today. Do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that conversation,
okay.
Yes.
So just to frame this discussion, there's arguments on both sides for applying for financial aid. Of course, if you need money, applying for financial aid is a good thing. The contra argument is that it could hurt your chances of getting in, particularly this year, in this pandemic year, when a lot of colleges are sucking wind with their budgets. Then there's a subset of that discussion, which is what Pearl and I were focusing on, because we have a lot of clients who they just won't qualify for need-based aid because they make 7 figures or high 6-figure incomes. And we always encourage them to file anyway for us to take care of the filings for them, the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And you point something out along the lines of not only why we encourage it, but some of the other things that they do in the college process, which are also, I guess, congruent with our recommendation to file those forms. So take it away. Why do we recommend that even if you think you're not going to qualify for need-based aid, you should still file the financial aid forms? And then I'll come back to whether you should check the box.
Okay. Well, I'll start off with some of the maybe more obvious reasons. If one does not qualify for need-based aid, why would one submit financial aid forms? For those of you who may or may not be aware, there are many schools out there that require submitting financial aid forms simply to be considered for merit aid at a particular school. So failure to file financial aid forms would preclude you from that consideration at many schools. So at the very least, for example, NYU, if you're non-need based eligible, but would still be interested in a discount off of the cost of attendance at a particular institution like NYU, you need, the prerequisite for that consideration is filing financial aid forms there, even though your finances do not show that you qualify for something else, need-based aid. Okay, so that's...
Let me give a specific example, because we had this exact scenario with someone who's applying to that school, and I'm not going to betray any confidences, several $1 million in the bank, highly regarded, a professional, I won't say his profession, but he was like, does this even matter? Why I need to know about my properties and these places and whatever? And that was the explanation that we've each given over several times.
Do you want a discount? I mean, I know you can pay, but do you want to pay full fare?
Yeah.
I don't know. Most people look for a discount irrespective of how much they can actually afford.
Yeah, and in his case, this is a sidebar here, but in his case, you point out, totally self-made. He worked hard for every dollar. It's not some inheritance or something. And that's the question. Like, do you want to give too much of that away for no reason?
Yes.
One of my favorite quotes of all time, I think it was a Morgan Stanley ad, and it had something to do with trying to invest in types of securities that would lower your tax burden, and the ad was something like, the law says that you have to pay your taxes, but it doesn't say that you have to leave a tip. and that's the way it is with college financial aid. You don't have to pay full price.
Exactly. I mean, there are other things you may want to do with the money that you get discounted. Charity, whatever, who knows? Anyway.
Buy a second home.
Exactly. Okay, so that's
mortgage,
one reason, and then
retire.
Another reason. Again, I'm getting to the whole, the bigger our discussion of yesterday morning. But the other reason is if of course, if you want to avail yourself, or if you want your student child to have skin in the game, and perhaps you would like your student child to take out loans in his or her own name, then that is another reason you would file financial aid forms. It is a prerequisite to obtaining loans in the college process. Okay, so those are some of the more obvious reasons.
But there's a strategy that we're talking about why you should still consider filing your financial aid form. So those are all sort of tactical things, like you may need them for merit aid, you may need them for loans, etc. By the way, you may not, you may be wrong about thinking you're not going to qualify.
That's true too. Yeah. That's right. Okay.
So by the way, anyone with questions, pop them in here. We will get to them.
Right. And here, you know what? I'm going to think of another reason. You may be one way right now and say, oh, I got it covered. Let's say people may have done this a year ago. Oh, I have it covered. I'm not going to qualify. You don't file forms. And then, unfortunately, at the point in time when it comes time to pay for school, things happen, like there's a pandemic and the world turns upside down and you lose your money, you lose your funding your entire business with all your savings, and then you have a college bill to pay, but perhaps you didn't file forms and now you're precluded from retroactively taking out loans for the year that you now have to pay for it. We actually have that example this year as well.
That was unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, right? So you want to just, in this whole college process, not even with financial aid, but admissions, and I am getting to the point here, in every regard, because we all know that there is just so much uncertainty in this process, you have to put your very best foot forward in every regard. You have to, you have to consider all cases that may occur and put every one of your best feet forward, your best foot forward for all scenarios that could come down the pipe. Okay, so now here's the other reason. If you do not qualify for financial aid, for need-based financial aid, but you show tremendous financial strength in your financial aid forms, if you were to file them, that is actually an admissions strength to your applicant, because I'm sure you're all aware colleges are in fact a business. And this year, these colleges, all the colleges took a big hit financially. Why? Many reasons. COVID, obviously, there were some discounts that had to be offered for lack of matriculation or lack of offerings. In addition, lack of international students who are largely responsible for paying full ride when they come and supplementing many need-based kids at school. So they no longer have a lot of the international students paying that. So colleges are hurting for money. So when they are looking to fill up their class, they are looking to see who can actually pay and help sustain the financial piece of their agenda, who can pay. So if you are looking to gain admission to a particular school, and now you give the extra added piece of information to the school through your financial aid forms that you are financially strong and can pay and will be a reliable payer for the 4 years of college, that is a very attractive aspect to the colleges from an admissions standpoint. Think about how many people spend countless dollars and time studying for the SATs, ACTs to just get extra points, or hire all kinds of essay assistants to help you craft the perfect essay, which at some schools may or may not get read. This is such a low-hanging fruit. If you have financial strength in your finances and submit financial aid forms, you are signaling that college, I can pay, take me. That's a low-hanging fruit in this admissions process.
So
why not do it?
So let me pick up on a few things that you said here. So first of all, financial strength is something that you may not particularly feel if you live in a high cost area, a lot of property taxes like Long Island or San Francisco or whatever. But to the colleges, that's a different calculation. So you may not feel particularly financially strong, but if you make $250,000, $300,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever, you might feel great, you may not feel great, but to colleges, you're exactly who they want. So there's an example that I've been giving for years that we heard just again when I popped in the book on tape version of Who Gets In and Why, a book I've been talking about for several weeks now, which I happen to have here on my desk, which I recommend, Jeff Salingo, Who Gets In and Why, A Year Inside College Admissions. And he pointed out something that I thought was my original thought, but that made me realize that maybe he said it years ago and I've just been, I plagiarized it. And the thought was if a college had a hypothetical pot of money, $60,000, and they could either give it all away to one low-income family or 4 $15,000 scholarships to mass affluent families who can either pay full price or can get their hands on money to borrow and pay full price, families making $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 or more, then they always go with the latter category of family because that's their business interests. It's not a personal thing. They have to do that to self-perpetuate, to survive. And this year more than ever, that's really important. So you may not feel that you have financial strength, but if you are in that category, that mass affluent category where you're not going to necessarily qualify for a lot of need-based aid or any, you should definitely demonstrate that financial strength because like Pearl said, that's another thing like SAT scores or a good essay or, taking hard classes that can help your chances of getting in. You don't have to like it, by the way. This might be offensive to you. We're not saying it to be offensive.
Don't shoot the messenger.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So getting back to the question, and I see a lot of comments coming in here, which is great. Getting back to the question, should you check the yes, I need financial aid box? Our strategy is if you are demonstrating financial strength and you're not going to qualify because you researched it or you talked to us or something else, I would check no, I'm not applying for need-based aid, but I would still submit the FAFSA and the CSS profile. So check no, but still put in your forms.
Exactly.
Your worst case scenario is they'll say, did you mean to apply for need-based aid? You'll say, no, I don't want it. I thought I had to file the forms.
To be considered for merit.
Yeah.
In order to file for loans. Exactly.
It may be the case. It may not be the case. But either it'll be neutral or helpful at that particular college. It won't hurt you to do that. So that's why we say check the box no if you know you're not going to qualify, but submit your forms.
Yep.
And if you do the opposite, if you check the box no and you don't file the financial aid forms and it turns out you could have qualified, but now you've blown all the priority deadlines, that's not good either. So that's a corollary that I just had to throw in there.
Exactly. And I'm sure we're going to get some questions about that. We have seen if you need financial aid and you are concerned about that hurting your chances of admission, and so you hedge your bets and you don't meet the financial aid deadlines, schools will hold you to that and they will not necessarily award you or consider your finances if you are playing that game with them.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen that over and over.
Yep. This year, I'm sure it'll be more hardcore than ever.
Yep.
All right. So Clau Albuquerque from Brazil, will requesting financial aid hurt my application? It could. It's not. Colleges claim it won't, but they are businesses, and a lot of them are need aware. But if you are not going to qualify, that's the second part of your question. Will it hurt your chances for merit? It'll actually help your chances for merit, or be neutral. There's no negativity to that. It can only help.
And in fact, again, it is a prerequisite to certain schools for that consideration altogether. So if you just want to be safe rather than sorry, submit your forms to all the schools that you're applying to.
All right. Long question here from Stacy Malinow. Understanding that the FAFSA needs to be filled out for merit-based aid, possibly, and assuming you probably won't qualify for need-based aid, but there's still a chance, should someone check the box, do you tend to pursue need-based aid? I know checking the box leaves a chance open that you can get need-based aid if you qualify, but does it hurt a child's chance to get in? If we later fill out the FAFSA and realize we won't qualify for need-based aid, can we send an email to the school, etc.? So that's what we just covered. So if you want need-based aid and you think you might qualify, then I would check it off. If you, but that could hurt your chances of getting in. It really could. And so we covered the rest of that question. All right, Jer Pap. Filing for financial aid with a strong EFC is preferable to simply saying you do not require financial aid. Does the college look into the financial aid app prior to ED decisions? It really varies from college to college. A lot of the Ivy League schools claim that they are need blind. I think for the most part that's true, but I'm a little suspicious. And most schools are not need blind, so that could hurt your chances. Filing for aid with a strong EFC. So strong must mean high, I guess. It's preferable to simply saying you do not require financial aid. I would do both. I would say, no, I don't want financial aid, and here are my forms. That'll show that I don't qualify.
Right.
I have a high expected family contribution. Gail Madigan. If you don't have financial strength, your child suffers for it, as schools won't want to accept them. It's not that black and white, but it won't help. It certainly won't help. But colleges have a balancing act to do, and I'm not, I'm not vouching for them, and I'm not making a political statement here. But most of them want to admit talented kids based on their merits, but they also have realities that they have to pay their own bills.
Right.
So college is not a pure meritocracy, and some people have advantages, and it could be high income, it could be race, it could be ethnicity, it could be that your parents went there, it could be that you're a recruited athlete. Some things are fair, some things are not fair.
And in fairness, just to round out this discussion, many schools, and of course, the more expensive and the greater the endowment, there is a certain amount that they must give away each year to need-based kids. So I don't want to overstate what we're saying. It is just an admissions tactic, if you will, if you
it's a factor.
Show financial strength. But I don't want to unduly, make everyone who is need-based eligible fearful that they're not getting in. We have seen, we've worked with hundreds of clients every year and students of all financial ability, and you get in. And if you're applying to a school,
sorry to interrupt, but they may not give a full financial aid award. They may gap you. The difference between what you deserve and what they give you might be higher.
That's common.
And that's common. I think this year it'll be even more common, but that means there'll be more room for negotiating also. Yep. So your best bet is to have a bunch of offers from colleges that compete with each other and play them off against each other to help try to close that gap. If you need aid at these schools that are need aware, that will be one factor out of 20 or 25 that college admissions officers typically consider. But when they make cuts, that is one of the factors that can weigh more heavily, even though it's only 1 out of 25. Meaning if they have a pile of kids and they're trying to figure out, wow, all these kids seem qualified, how do we distinguish? Well, this one had a weaker rigor in their academic record. They didn't take so many APs. This person says that they want to go pre-med, but there's nothing in their resume or their background that is consistent with that. This person needs money. We can't afford to have them here. We have $2.5 million of a budget to be able to give out, and we're already at X, and we have all these other applicants to go through. So it is a factor. It's not fair. It's just the way it is. All right, Christy. We checked no last year, and the schools were confused when we filed FAFSA. I got calls from financial aid offices asking if we meant to check no. We are full pay, so we won't file this year, even though we have 2 kids in college next year. We've already checked, and the schools don't require FAFSA for merit. Doesn't checking no show that you know you're full pay, and that could be attractive? Yes, it could be, and filing forms and confusing them is just one more thing that will make that point that you are full pay. So not all schools get confused, but many do. So that is a typical experience. Clau,
Thanks.
Thank you, Clau, for the good wishes. Carmen, what about early action? Does that affect your chances of getting merit aid? The colleges, they want you to apply early, and they kind of claim that the earlier you put your applications in, by the early action deadline, the greater your chances are of getting money. I haven't really noticed that ever, anecdotally. We don't have thousands and thousands of clients each year. We have 100 or so each year.
I think it helps the applicant just have the information back sooner rather than later. Sometimes. In the event that you need to pivot.
Not always, though.
Well, not always, but if you're an early action candidate and you meet those deadlines and therefore you hear back yes or no.
We don't always know. That's the thing.
Some early action?
No, some of them delay until March. I mean, they say you're going to be in line for money and you're going to hear back from us.
Oh, for money. I thought you meant admissions.
No, both.
Admissions?
Both. Yeah. Sometimes they don't respond early every year. Really depends. But it's nice to know. So some schools will, some schools won't, but I don't really see, you might as well just apply early action anyway, because why not? In case, out of superstition even. That's my advice to all the kids that I work with one-on-one. Get it off your plate. Gail says, thank you. You are welcome. All right, Kathy, so happy that Pearl and the VIP team are helping with our forms. Yes.
Me too.
Kathy, you are up early, right? You're out I think you're in Seattle, right? It's nice. Hobnobbing with Bill Gates.
And I believe I owe you an email.
Yeah. Denise, hi. And are you still taking clients to do FAFSA forms?
We're already working together. We've been talking all weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, which might mean others.
I know.
We did shut down just to make sure that Pearl could accommodate everyone's early financial aid priority deadlines. So if they have a November 1 priority financial aid deadline, it's iffy, but because you are a client and if you're going to refer someone, absolutely we'll give you the secret back channel. But on our website, no one can hire us currently. We're hoping to change that. This is a little behind the scenes here. I say to Pearl, I was like, do you want me to take on work now? There's a lot of people who are interested, and you're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, really? I see how hard you're working, and it's day to day. So any referral from the Chambers family is good in our books. Yes, thank you very much. All right, Nicole, can you check the do not need financial aid for some schools on the Common App and not for others? Yeah, you can, because that's a supplemental question. Great question from Nicole. Denise, yes. And thank you, Pearl.
Of course.
She'll email us. Awesome. All right, good. Anything else you want to enlighten people with before we wrap up and you go back to work?
Go vote. I'm not going to take my clothes off, though.
What was that about?
Because all these people are getting on social media and taking their clothes off and trying to influence people to vote. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Wasn't there like Amy Schumer took her clothes off and she's like, vote.
I was thinking about the guys on the Lakers who took their shirts off, for who won the title the other night. But maybe
I don't think that has to do with voting.
I wonder if there's crossover.
There might be crossover.
LeBron's very politically active.
Yes.
But his shirt was on.
Oh.
Okay. On that note, we're going to let you go. We're going to get back to work here. Thanks for watching and being part of our community. And we'll be back next week with another episode of College Coffee Talk. Tuesdays at 10 right here. Bye-bye. Bye.